I'm MJ.
And I'm AJ.
And today we're going to show you how to make raffia baskets. And we're going to show you a couple of different techniques. So we did these ones kind of Easter colors. And these two are using cardstock and yarn. We're also going to show you if you have an extra cottage cheese or sour cream container, if you hold on to those, they make great little baskets. The setup on them is harder, but they're easier to weave. She's also come up with all sorts of great ideas like scalp scratchers and yeah, they're really fun. So for today's activity, you'll need a writing stick of some form, scissors. If you got a kit from us, you should have a square piece of cardstock and a Pringles lid. We're going to use the Pringles lid to set the base for this size. If you want to do a bigger one, you have other lids in there. These ones are just harder for smaller hands because there's more you have to keep in control at the same time. So we're going to use the Pringles lid as our template. AJ, what'd you do on yours before you started cutting it up?
Have to be
Mark
louder.
it. I marked it with this marker so it has like lines every.
So she used a dry erase marker and went through and marked kind of in the same pattern I'm going to show on this. The only problem we found with this pattern is that it results in an even number, and because it's an even number, you're going to have to do 2 separate rows of yarn at kind of interchangingly. So I'm going to go ahead and cut from the corners in.
You can do odd.
Hmm?
You're doing odd.
Doing the same.
You can do stripes.
So after you cut in from the corners, cut in as close to center as you can. And if you're working with younger kids, I would stop at that because it's going to take less time and it's going to be easier. This kind of determines the size of your squares that you're working with, because as we fold these in, they're going to be about this size. So for younger kids, that's going to be easier and faster. If you have older kids or you just want a smaller basket weave, you're going to cut those in half again. AJ, you want to get them started if they're doing that way? Go down to the bottom and start going every other. Yep.
Why is she doing that?
She's doing tan and blue. You don't want to use your really big yarn ball if you're using the kits that you got from us. The big yarn ball is for our activity tomorrow, where we're going to make decorations. The cat got a hold of ours, so I recommend keeping them away from the cat. But we're going to make those tomorrow, and you'll need a bigger yarn ball for that. So once I have these cut, the next phase is to fold them in. And because this is a smaller center, we have longer edges, and that means you won't be able to go all the way around. So you'll see it's like that. I'm going to lay that back down and then do the other side.
But you want to make these cuts as straight as they can get, because like these make it really hard.
Yeah, we encountered some issues with the sour cream thing because it was more prone to shatter than it was to actually cut. So now you have, kind of looks like a coffee filter. And this is the part that's tricky about these and why we were doing the sour cream, is that to get straight pieces of paper to work with, you cut straight down, and in doing so, you're able to pull off some extras. And you are cutting off of both sides down towards where it meets at the bottom.
I did that out instead of in.
Oh,
I can go
just
in.
tuck it in, yeah. And using the sour cream container, you already have straight parts for the basket weave.
Unless it does not want to cut.
We're getting craft kits ready for next week. If you have any requests for things that you'd like to learn how to make, either drop them in a message or drop them in the comments. I think we're looking at doing a couple of boondoggle crafts and some simple
Like that.
beading crafts. Yep, and now do your other color. So, because she had an even number of these, what's going to happen is this is going to follow that same pattern. And because, so if we don't do another row in a different color and start on the front here, you're going to have a row sticking out. So she's just going to drop that in her basket, and now she's got to start one that goes the opposite. So over this and under that. And WD says this craft takes way too long. I find it really relaxing once you get it set up. It does take a little bit of time to weave it all together, but they are kind of cute. And I guess I'm a goal-oriented person, and I like when I can feel like I've accomplished something, and this seems like a really fast, easy decoration to accomplish. What?
They don't like me.
It doesn't like you. And these don't have to be perfect. They're going to be hidden by yarn. They just don't weave very well if they're overlapping, which these are overlapping at this point, so. Almost finished. I'm sure someone has a template or an easier way to do this. I just line them up and cut them straight down. When I do this with AJ, I usually cut hers up for her, just because it is time consuming and kind of annoying. So now I have them all trimmed and they don't overlap anymore. So it looks kind of like a spastic flower. Missed one. Like that. Who knew finding the end of the yarn ball would be the most complicated task for today? We like to leave this string on the inside. It's easier to hide it that way, and you're just going to go over and under. And when I get back to that start, see the even number causes that to happen. And because we want the basket weave look and the checkerboard look, I'm going to use a second color. If you had two yarn balls of the same color and you wanted your basket to be the same, you could do it that way. But I'm going to start with this one on the outside and then just go around. once you get it established, you can cut the paper so that it's not quite so obnoxiously tall. You okay?
This keeps on falling.
Falling out?
Yeah, pull the string. In the beginning. Wait, how do you get the check?
Once I get back to where I started my pink, I'm going to go with my yellow again. And you want to make sure that you're alternating. Otherwise, you're going to get big gaps between your strings. You can kind of see that there's gaps already just because of doing this string and then that string. But as we start to press it down, those will disappear. They won't if you do 2 or 3 wraps. Yeah, and then go back to the other color. So you do have to alternate them. If you have an older kiddo doing these, one thing I like to do is you can wrap both strands at once if you just flip-flop them. So you do a crossover and just separate your yarn and cross them. So I'll do one more row like this, but for the most part, it's going to be easier for younglings to do it one string at a time. And it does get easier the further you get because it starts to hold shape as a basket. And that's why we were doing the sour cream or cottage cheese container, is because it holds that shape and you don't have to worry about making it that shape. So you can see it's starting to turn into a basket. But again, if you have a youngling, it's going to be easier probably for them to just do the back and forth kind of weave. Are you waving at people?
No. My hands still aren't.
Your hands aren't in the screen, they're just bordering the screen.
Not even.
You'll want to, if you're going to do squares, you'll want to keep track of how many rows you do. We've been doing 6 rows and then alternating. You don't have to alternate. You'll just end up with stripes going straight up if you don't.
Which is
So
still.
we'll take you through the alternating part and then... Oh, it looks like we got 2 in a row. I did 2 yellows in a row and it's making a big gap.
Where? Where?
Right there. That one should not have been a yellow next. The pink doesn't have its second row. Or third row. So we'll do 3 and then I'll show you how to switch directions.
I'm doing 2 still.
You're on your second one? So once you have it so that both colors have the amount you want, like I said, I recommend doing 6 because it's going to make them look more like squares, but for time's sake, we're just going to show you how with 3. Once you get it to this point, your natural would be for the pink to come to the front and the yellow to go to the back. And instead, you're just going to take your strings out and twist them one more time, which brings your yellow to the front on that one and the pink to the back, which changes the color that my squares are going to be. We warned you today's was going to be a bit longer.
That's why I made so many short ones.
We're doing average amount of time. We're thinking that the more school's out, the less people are getting up and getting alive by 11. And if you have really small balls of yarn, you might change more frequently, so the next set of squares would be a different set of colors. So as you continue to wrap it, you can see how those get a lot tighter. And you just keep alternating it until you get up as high as you wanted. We cut this one a little bit shorter. It probably could have gone another inch. As you can see, with cutting these off, you really could, okay, maybe half an inch. So when you get to the end, you want to get back to the square that you started on, preferably. Mine started coming undone because we didn't tie it. But we wanted to just show you how to tie it off. And it's pretty simple. You're literally just going to tie it off with a square knot on the inside of one of your paper strands. If you have an OCD or type A personality, be careful when you start these. I started one before bed the other night to make a sample one, and then I didn't ever find a good stopping point to go to bed until it was finished. But they are quite satisfying when they're finished, and you can curl those down or cut them off when it's done. Our one that we did, we just left them as even. And I think AJ will be doing this for the next hour or so. Can you show him yours? She's having a hard time because the plastic is catching where it shattered when we cut it. Coming along quite nicely, and the more she does, the tighter. Okay, so next week we'll be doing, or tomorrow we'll be doing the decorative yarn balls. You'll need little liquid glue, you'll need your bigger yarn ball, and you'll need a balloon. See you tomorrow at 11.